Well, good morning and happy Saturday to everybody. We are going to be getting started in just a little bit. And everyone knows me as a vintage sewing machine guy, but it's apparent that God has a plan that as I near retirement, that I am going to be spending a lot of time falling in love with the greatness of some contemporary machines like this Janome SKYLINE S5. Wait until you see what this machine can do. And she is the proud kin of Sandra of Tennessee. Sandra just loves this machine. And after spending a little bit of time operating the machine behind the scenes and certainly servicing it at a depth that's off the charts, oh my goodness, what a cool machine. Just like the machines that I service from the Senior Center of La Fontana, Tennessee, Janome does it right, and other makers need to follow their lead. What did you see this machine operate? It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to be asking for your help. So pay attention, pay attention. I don't know what that was. It sounded like monks, didn't it? Maybe Japanese. Susie just sent me a text that my voice is cutting in and out. Um, Give me a thumbs up if I sound clear right now. I know that when the microphone is trying to pick up the music, it sometimes can cut me out. So let me know if you can hear me loud and clear right now. I'm hoping we don't have any uh, live stream issues today with Spectrum or our technology factors. So how do I sound right now? Okay. I think it's the music, Susie. As the music kind of cuts in and out, the microphone will tune into that. But let me know if there's any issues that come up. And you might want to call the phone because that might not hear the text come in. Just call the phone and I will pick up. Okay? So a little bit more Japanese music, and then we're going to get into this Janome SKYLINE S5 really impressed with this machine. And I want to show you some progress shots that I haven't uploaded yet to Facebook. Like I said in the intro, I really seem to be getting pulled into these contemporary machines more and more and more, starting with the Senior Center of Lapala, Tennessee, and now this one that belongs to Sandra. I've got another one on the other workbench that I'm servicing right now that belongs to Phyllis, who just got back from Sweden and had a chance to check out some things there. I don't think she went to the Husqvarna Viking Museum. Not sure why, because why would you travel over to Sweden and not go to the museum? I don't have a clue. But she had a pre-planned target as far as where she wanted to go, what she wanted to see. But I'll tell you one thing: if Susie and I go to Sweden, we are going to be camped out at the Husqvarna Viking Sewing Machine Museum, and it has so much more in the museum as well. You can Google it and look at it. They got motorcycles, they got everything that Husqvarna Viking has ever made. What a fabulous place! What a destination to go check out, right? All right. Okay. Is my voice still gurgling right now? How does the voice sound right now? How does the voice sound right now? If I look right at the microphone, maybe I have to look right at the microphone today. Susie, are you having trouble picking up my voice as well? Is my voice not coming in clear right now? Jenny seems to be having issues with the clarity of it. How does this sound right now? How does the voice sound right now? Susie, can you hear me okay? I'm concerned that we might have technology issues. If you ladies would try, if you ladies would try, uh, maybe rebooting and see if that clears it up. Oh, right now. Well, I'm not sure what's going on with the microphone. Maybe when I dropped it at that live stream the last time, maybe that did it there. Is it clearing up at all, y'all? Can you hear me at all? Okay. I I think it's Spectrum. And if Spectrum is listening right now, y'all need to get your act together so that we don't keep having live stream issues. Okay, we're going to try moving forward because I don't have any control over what our internet provider is doing, and I'm hoping that it just clears up. But if it gets worse, we'll just do our best to work through it. So this is the Janome SKYLINE S5. It's a computerized machine, and I'm going to show you some of the service shots that I did on the machine. All right, see if I can get down in here. So I did kind of an aerial shot down, and let me adjust my screen up. There it is. So this is the top of the S5 taken off. The S5 has several points of service on it, the top, the front, the bottom, and everywhere else. And you can see here, I'm getting into some of the electronics of the machine. Oh, good. Okay. Here you can see I'm getting into some of the electronics on the machine. Whenever you're servicing a computerized machine, you need to be real careful. Static electricity can wipe out a computerized machine very quickly. So when you're in proximity to these circuit boards, you need to make sure that you're static free. So there's a lot of electronic components on top of here as well on the Janome SKYLINE S5. And the way you can get rid of the static electricity, you can either have a static guard, which is something you actually attach to your body, and it's designed to discharge the static electricity, or you can just make sure that you have a damper environment. You can spritz some water, you can put some water on your hands, but be real careful whichever route you decide to take. A little bit more on the servicing faceplate area. See all the dust. Dust is a real dangerous thing for any sewing machine, but particularly sewing machines that are computerized. Machines that are computerized, you got to be real careful with dust, because what it does is it insulates those circuit boards and it causes them to get super hot and eventually to burn out. So the dust on the outside is an indication of what's on the inside, and you need to be real careful to get all that dust out of there. Oh, this has an auto pressure foot and a tension adjuster. It works pretty good, but I've made some adjustments to that as well. More service points. You see all the cabling, bobbin winding assembly. Lots of thread caught up on Sandra's machine as well. Oops, that's a different one. Let me see what else I have here. Hold on 1 second. Give me one moment here. I think I have some more. Yeah, here's some more. Here's some more service points on the machine as well. See, I've kind of tilted it back here. Additional service points on Sandra's machine. And the thing to emphasize here is the depth that you're seeing of the machine here. You're seeing parts of the machine that if you took it to a sewing vac, they would never get to this level of service on the machine. They wouldn't even know how to take the parts off of the machine to get to it. You can see additional servicing that I'm doing on Sandra's machine. All that old grease, the old grease on all of the cotton gears and everything else needs to be taken off so that fresh grease can be applied and the machine is able to operate freely and without inhibition. Lots of old grease built up on Sandra's machine. This is a small motor that activates certain functions of the machine, like the auto cutter and other things like that. And all these things need to be serviced and serviced in a very special way so that you don't damage them. Here you can see some of that filth and buildup and dirt on the machine as well, holding that machine back. All these different oil points as well that need to be lubricated so that it continues to wick that moisture out to the machine. But you get an idea. This machine is well loved and well used by Sandra, and it really, really needed a serious deep cleaning and a service. Look at that. Oh my goodness. A lot of thread built up on the machine as well. Old grease turns into almost like a cement. So all that old grease needs to be taken off the machine as well. But again, the depth of service that a sewing machine, whether it's vintage, antique, or contemporary like this one, that it receives at the workshop is unmatched by any other person in the world that I've ever come across. More service points. And you can see that I don't use just anything to get into those tiny, tiny little nooks and crannies on the machine. I actually use a surgical needle with a lubricant combination of crystal white and also kerosene in order to get to those really, really difficult spots to lubricate on the machine. You don't want to overlook any spot because every part of it needs that lubrication. You get the idea. Every part. Look at all the filth that I'm getting off of there as well. Specialized tools to work with. I know a number of you, after I introduced these dental tools a number of years ago, you went out and bought your own set of dental tools as well, which is fabulous because they really help you to get into those tight spots on the sewing machine and get all of that dirt and grime off of the machine so that it can function like it should. More service points here. That's actually part of our food dog drop assembly right there, getting that cleaned up as well. Still a lot of old oil down there and old grease. That stuff just becomes worthless to the sewing machine as that grease dries out. It doesn't do anything to lubricate the machine any longer. It actually breaks off like little chunks. You see it breaking off of there. Oh, that's our friend from the senior center. Aha! I think I've run out of. I'm in a real tight spot today. I keep bumping the camera. I keep bumping the camera. Hold on. Let me see if I have any other pictures on there. Oh, Teresa changed her screen name. Teresa's incognito. This something. Teresa's got a totally different screen name. Okay, let me see what else I've got. I think that's it. Oh, no, no, no. What? Flash shots. Here's after I put the machine back together. Kind of looks like this, doesn't it now? And then I did my initial sew offs that you can kind of see displayed right over here. Some of these sew offs. machine is going to absolutely amaze you in what it can do from a creative standpoint. I'll show you one other shot. So I've been totally off topic of sewing machines, but relating to Susie's in my life now, we've been getting the dogs more used to being off leash, and we don't have the yard fence, and we got it almost 20 acres of land. So for the dogs to go off leash, there's a lot of trust. But I found that they are loyal to their sticks. So as long as I stay close to the dogs and the dogs stay close to me. And this is Hank probably showing that when I threw the stick out for him, Maya, he got it, and it's like a trophy to him. This is Hank with his stick. Ah, there they are. They're doing Mortal Kombat right now. Mortal Kombat. Okay, can you not hear me at all right now? We have no audio. How about now? Can you hear me 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 now? Susie, can you hear me? Okay, what about now? Can you hear me right now? Okay. I'm not going to dwell on the sound. I know the sound is important, but there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm going to try to move forward as best as I can. Move away from the front of the machine. Your voice gets bad. Okay. I'll move the microphone right out here. All right. How can you hear me there? Can you hear me there okay? How's the sound right now? Somebody, somebody give me feedback. How's the sound right now? Okay. So what I did is I moved the microphone off of the wall. I moved the microphone off the wall. I don't know why there's an issue with it being up on the wall, but I'm going to leave it down here at workshop level, right on the workbench. So right now you can hear me okay. Right now I sound clear. Do I sound clear right now? How about now, Susie? Anyone else? Anyone else give me feedback right now on how the microphone sounds? Feedback, feedback, feedback. Susie's the only one that can type today, apparently. Come on, you guys. Ah, okay, so who's yeah, I don't know. It's got to be Spectrum. It's got to be Spectrum. So we're just going to try to deal with it. They'll miss 3668. That's Teresa, right? 3668 is Teresa. Is that right? Teresa, are you Miss T3668? Whatever that is? Can you guys hear me right now? Maybe? try and plug in that. Okay. Does that change anything when I did that? How does this sound right now? How does it sound right now? Testing one, two, three, testing one, two, three, testing one, two, three, testing one, two, three. In and out. Okay. Well, I don't know what to tell you other than let's go over and take a spectrum truck. Well, Jenny, when you say no change, I don't know what that means here. I don't know if that means better, worse, something else. All right. Let's see here. Oh, that's different. Okay. How does it sound right now? Can you guys hear anything? Hey, Susie. Susie, can you hear me right now? Susie Geller, can you hear me? Testing one, two, testing one, two, testing one, two. Okay. Well, we're going to have to live with garbled apparently right now because that's what we got. Master volume 96. Let's see what this is doing. Let's see here. Master volume. Device properties. Speaker. Oh, why that's- Okay, just close something. Let's see if that changes it. Microphone Pro. Cairo. What is this? What is this brand here? Ah, it's the wrong one. That's what it is. Okay, what did that do, if anything? Can y'all hear me now? Tell me if that's better. Tell me if that's better. Okay, here's what happened. I've got two different microphone drivers. I've got two different microphone drivers. One is a Siren. You don't need to know this, but it was using the wrong driver to try to power the microphone. So I went into microphone settings. I didn't know if I could do it while we were live, and I changed it from one driver to another. So not only are we working with technology today, but apparently I'm also using technology at the same time. So, all right. So that sounds better, right? Now you can hear me. So I got to check that before the next live stream to see if for some reason it moves
back to that other driver again and trying to power the microphone. And any of you that work on computers know that drivers and updates of drivers can sometimes make things better. Sometimes it can make them worse. So I am your official troubleshooter now if you're having driver issues, apparently. Oh, my Lord. What a hoot. What a hoot. All right. So I take back what I said about Spectrum, but I'm sure Spectrum will screw something up too. So, oh my goodness. All right. All right. Hang with me for a second real quick, guys. Hang with me for a second. All right. So if you persevered, I see we've got a pretty good sized audience. If you persevered through that technical challenge and you're happy now that the sound is back, then make sure you go ahead and click like. Make sure you click like on the screen so that we get credit for that, okay? All right. So let's see if we can move forward now with Sandra's machine now that we have the right driver powering our microphone. All right. So again, make sure you click like. If you're happy with the sound being fixed, then click like, click like, click like. All right. All right, let me move the microphone back up on the wall because I don't think that's going to hurt us. Hopefully you can still hear me okay up on the wall as well. So does anyone want to guess? This is a real big machine, right? It's a pretty imposing machine. Does anyone want to guess what size motor this contemporary quilting style machine by Janome has? What size motor does the SKYLINE S5 have? SKYLINE S5, what size motor does it have? Anyone at all? Thank you for clicking like. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, click like, click like. I love it. Almost 500 likes now. They're saying, now we can hear you. We can hear the wizard. This is a good thing. All right. So Susie, Teresa, Jenny, and everyone else, y'all can still hear me, correct? Or did you lose me again? Okay, perfect. We got you. Okay, perfect. All right, great. Okay, so let's get into this machine a little bit. Again, the question I asked, looks like Susie put down 0.7 amps. You're really close. This SKYLINE S5 is going to have a 0.8 amp motor, so almost a full amp of power driving it. And I want to show you some of the stitches that this machine will do, and grab something to write with, maybe a piece of paper, a pen, and write down your favorite stitches that you want me to try to sew on Sandra's SKYLINE S5. So I'm going to go ahead and open the hood up right up here, and you'll get a chance to see some of these stitches that this SKYLINE can sew. Okay, let's see here. I move my little table back. And it looks like the wizard is here as well, our little wizard friend saying, yeah. Let's check out this contemporary machine. I'm going to move him right over here. So this machine is basically broken out into a total of 6 different modes. 6 different modes of operation that it will be able to do. And I'm going to let me grab my book a little bit so that I describe them correctly. Hold on one second. This book is almost 90 pages long. It's almost 90 pages long. So I haven't had a chance to become a master of this machine other than servicing it. but I'm going to try to describe at least some of the attributes of the machine so that you're able to, where is it? I know it's on one of these pages I marked. Okay, here it is. So as we're looking at this, I'm going to set my book down. As we're looking at this, we've got mode 1 right up here, and you can just focus on the decorative stitches all the way through stitch 93, it looks like. So there's a lot of different stitches that we could possibly sew today. This is mode 1. You can look at some of those, see the stitch that kind of catches your eye and the number that's associated with it. Kind of go across like this. And then we have mode 2, which is going to be the mode 1 is the book describes mode 1 as the utility and decorative stitch pattern selection. So it's going to have a combination of utility stitches and also decorative stitches. And then as we move into mode 2, right over here, it's going to be almost completely decorative type stitches, decorative ornamental stitches. So I'll let you try to get, I'm going to hold the camera as still as I can. I'll start over on mode 1 again. Write down the stitches that you want to see. Write down the stitches you want to see in mode 1, right up here. And then we'll move slowly over to mode 2. And if I'm going too fast, tell me to slow down. If I'm going too fast, I can certainly slow down, but this is all going to be these three rows right here are all going to be mode 1. Mode 2 over here, mostly all decorative ornamental stitches. So if you want to make note of some of those as well, we can try stitching off on those. Mode 2. That's mode 2 right there. I've got a lot of material ready, so we should be able to stitch off quite a bit of stuff today. And then we've got mode 3. Again, there's a total of 6 modes with this SKYLINE S5. Mode 3 is right here, and mode 3 is going to be numbers and letters. So if you're going to do something creative and you're going to use numbers and letters, mode 3 is going to be your option right down here. And then they've got the associated numbers with the letters. I'm not sure how much I would use that, but I'm sure there's a good purpose for it, especially if you're doing like a phone number on a shirt or something like that, or on a hat. Then we've got mode 4, which is European accented letters. This is going to be European accented letters over on this side. So if you want to see any of those European accented letters, that's going to be in mode 4. These 2 rows right here. Then we have mode 5. Mode 5 is going to be the acrylic letter selection. I'm not even sure that I know what acrylic letter selection is. So if anyone wants to chime in on mode 5 with the acrylic letter selection, that's one of the options on this SKYLINE S5, are acrylic lettering type selections. They almost look like Greek to me. When I studied Greek in seminary, they look a little bit like Greek, and some of them have an umlaut above them, like in German. Very interesting. But again, I don't know how much I would use these, to be honest with you. But these are the acrylic letter selections. And then the last mode, mode number 6, is going to be our monogram selections. If you want to do monogramming, say on a garment or something like that, these letters And numbers as well are going to be about 9 millimeters tall. So any of you that have a mechanical caliper, that's how big this lettering will be over here in mode number 6. So we can certainly try to do some monogramming. I actually tested it a little bit with the monogramming, and I did my own name right here. You can see that right there. Those are 9 millimeters tall, which, let me see if I can grab. I know I have my caliper somewhere around here. Here it is. So these letters are going to be right about this big on a garment. Right around 9 millimeters is how big they'll be. So a decent size. And there is a way on this machine to elongate things as well. I didn't test it to see if it'll work on the monogramming, but if it does, we could also stretch those monogram letters out a little bit more than they are already. But you can see some of the fun stitches that I did, and we'll duplicate some of these today. And based on your input, if you have a particular stitch you want to see, we can certainly try stitching that as well. And the one thing I'll tell you as I was getting into Sandra's machine is I discovered that she had the wrong bobbin in here. This has been happening a lot. Susie and I were recently out in the field servicing an industrial Janome machine. And this particular machine had the customer's approach to operating any of the machines that she had was, I'm going to throw everything at the machine and see if any of it works. So she would throw random needles into the machines. She would throw different bobbins into the machine. She would put a class 15 bob in a machine that was supposed to have a class 66. Any of you that are real particular about the way you operate your machines, you probably would be ready to slap her or push her out of the room pretty quick. But at any rate, the bobbin for this machine that was in it when I got it from Sandra is this one right here. Now it's going to look real close to this one right here. They look almost identical, but when we measure them with the caliper, you're going to find that they're not the same. Also, the mounting points and the way they spin, because of the way they're engineered, is also going to be different. So I'm going to try to do the measurements on the correct bobbin, and that way, any of you that have a SKYLINE S5, you'll know which bobbin dimensions you want, assuming you have a mechanical caliper, what dimensions you want. Let me see my little table so I can set the camera down for a moment. Okay, I'm going to put it right over here. All right. So, you know what? I'll give you the measurements of the wrong bobbin as well. Why not? So, I'll call it the height of the bobbin. On the wrong bobbin, it's going to be right around 11.5. So, I'm going to write it right on my little sheet of paper right here. Wrong bobbin, wide 11.5. So, oh, that's height. I'm sorry, height. Okay, so the height is right around 11.5. Show it to you like that. The camera's like, I don't want to focus on that. That's no fun. Yeah, almost 12, just a little bit short of 12. Now we can also measure it like this, as far as the width of the bobbin. It's going to be right around 20 millimeters. 20 millimeters. As far as the width, okay? And that, again, this is the wrong bobbin. This is the wrong bobbin. 20. Now we're going to measure the correct bobbin. We'll do the width first. or the height rather. We'll do the height first. And the height is pretty much going to be the same as the other one. It's going to be right around 11.5. Now we're going to measure the width of it. And the width of it is going to be close, but it's just a little bit wider. It's going to be right around 20.5. So only 0.5 difference. But the way this spins in the machine, it makes a difference. So we're looking at a real close match as far as the bobbins. This one again is going to be right around. Well, this one is actually, now that I'm looking at it with a little bit more scrutiny, it's 11, 12. It's more like 11 3/4, isn't it? It's more like 11 3/4. So I'm going to write that down as 11 3/4. 11.75. It's going to be our height. And then our width on the correct bobbin is going to be 20.5. There we go. 20.5, almost on the verge of 20.75, but I think 20.5 is pretty close. And again, you're talking about the brain center. You're talking about the brain center of the sewing machine. So when you're talking about differences like this, you might look at it on the surface and go, well, it's not that big of a difference. The wrong bobbin is 11.5. This one is 11.75. The wrong bobbin is 20 millimeters wide. This one is 20.5. But 0.5 makes a big difference in a sewing machine. It really does. Because what happens is as that bobbin is spinning in the machine, like this, if it's the wrong size for that compartment, it's going to get a wobble like this while it's distributing that thread. And that was one of the challenges that we had with this customer and her industrial machine, is she had the wrong bobbin in it, and the bobbin case was also wrong, and it was creating a wobble where after I set everything up correctly, I adjusted the timing of the hook, I adjusted the timing of the needle bar, everything else, it was still having intermittent issues, and that's because the bobbin and the bobbin case were not fitted right to the machine. So when it comes to fit, a 1/2 millimeter can make a difference. It truly can. A 1/2 millimeter can make a difference. Okay. Let me walk you around the machine a little bit, and then we'll get into this machine and see if we can put it to work. I'm also going to show you how to wind a bobbin on it so we can get that set up, and I'll show you how to thread the machine. And then we'll get working on this machine. Now, I'll also mention our setup today. Our setup today is we're going to be sewing with a Schmetz stick nail embroidery needle. This will be our needle for today. We're not going to be using a universal needle. We're going to be using a stick nail embroidery needle. And the machine size, the needle size that I have in the machine is a size 90, which equates to a size 14. So if you've never tried these stick nail embroidery needles before, you'll be able to see how they perform today on this SKYLINE S5. And then you might want to pick up a pack of them and put them to work on some embroidery or some ornamental type stitching that you're looking to do with your sewing machine. Okay, so that'll be our needle of choice today. And we're going to be using our standard Coats & Clark thread. So I'll walk you briefly around the machine. and then we'll see if we can put this machine to work with some of the stitches that caught your attention as we were trying to resolve the audio issues today. All right. So I'll walk you around the machine first, and I'll show you some of the buttons and the gadgets and the bells and whistles on this S5. And if I stumble on any of them, I'll grab my book so I can rescue myself. Okay. Let's just walk across the machine a little bit. I love the fact that this particular Janome S5, unlike this one over here, this one right here that I'm tearing apart right now, this belongs to Phyllis, who just got back from Sweden. And some of the Janomes are engineered so that you can open up the faceplate very easily. Others, you've got to take a couple of screws or bolts out. This is one of those that's not quite as easy to service. This particular one is a Janome Memory Craft 67P. Janome Memory Craft 67P. If you want to Google it and kind of see what this machine will eventually look like when we live stream it. But just all kinds of things you got to be careful about with computerized machines. You can see as you take the top off, you've got a motor attached with wiring that's attached to the machine as well. So you got to be real careful. You don't just try to yank the lid off, or you can end up breaking some wires on the sewing machine. I'm going to set this down so it doesn't fall. There we go. Stay there. Stay. So yeah, this is Phyllis's machine. I don't prefer it over this one. And this machine is more affordable. This is more affordable than the other one I just showed you. If any of you were to guess, just typing in the live chat, what would you think? What would you think a machine like this would cost used, and what would a machine like this cost new? What would it cost used, and what would it cost new? This SKYLINE S5, and you can Google it if you want to. What kind of money are we talking about? $500, $600, $700 more? How expensive a machine is this? How expensive is this? It sounds like Jenny might have a machine like that the Memory Craft one. I think she said 4,700. So this model that Phyllis has is a couple models later. This is a 6700P. 6700P. Yeah, I think Jenny's pretty close. These new are going to be, anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000. Now, in my book, that's a pretty good investment in a sewing machine. $1,500 to $2,000. But when you see what this machine can do, and the fact that I went through it, and I can tell you it's built real well, it's a great machine to have. It's a great machine to have in your lineup of machines to handle different projects that you otherwise couldn't handle. It's a fabulous machine with all these different modes and stitch selections that you can pick from. It's really quite a bit of fun to operate this machine. Quite a bit of fun. Yeah. Okay, let me slide the camera a little bit closer over, and I'll see if I can walk you around the machine. I'm going to tilt the machine just a little bit. There we go. Yeah, I like that. See, the faceplate opens easily. You can get in there and do some servicing on the machine if you need to without any difficulty. Over here, you've got some quick little buttons here. This is going to be needle up, needle down. So if you get done sewing a stitch line and you want that needle to be down so you can rotate the material, you just tap that button and the needle goes down. You tap that button and the needle goes up. You can also go in the settings of this machine and set it up as an automatic default. Every time you get done stitching, it will always end with a needle down or needle up position. When I got this machine from Sandra, it was set up with the needle down position, but I like it needle up. So I went into the settings over here on this board over here, and I hit settings. Now this is the buzzer. I don't need the buzzer. Hold on one second. How did I do that? I know I did that before. Give me a second here. I may have to go to the book. Anyway, you hit settings and you can change it so that the buzzer doesn't go off. You can set it up so that the needle is always up versus down. Yeah, I'll figure it out. But at any rate, back over here, we've got a manual needle up, needle down. Also, we've got auto thread cutter up here. This is going to be an end pattern button where if you're stitching a particular pattern and when you get down with that line, you don't want it to end halfway through the pattern. As you're sewing that last pattern, you touch this button and then it will finish off that pattern and it will make it complete versus stopping like in the middle of it. You know what I mean? With these particular machines, it will just continue to repeat that pattern over and over and over again. And if you stop at the end of your material, you might be right in the middle of that pattern, which you don't want. So you just give this button a tap and it will finish off that last pattern. And then you can adjust the material if you want to do the pattern one more time. Here we've got a reverse button. We've got a start and stop button instead of the foot controller if we want to use that. Over here, we've got our speed control. If you move it to the right, you're going to be racing like a rabbit. If you move it to the left, you're going to be going like a tortoise. So it's a nice little speed adjuster. And wherever you set this, as far as its maximum, that's how fast you can go using that foot controller. It won't go any faster. I think Susie is texting me. Hold on a second. Owner Sandra is in the chat. Wonderful. Great to have Sandra here. Sandra Ken 9842. Yeah, it's always great. Sandra wasn't sure if she could make it, so it's great to have the owner here of this machine. And I say it all the time. Someone that owns a machine is going to have an intimacy level with that machine that I will not be able to match in the short time that I am with that machine in the workshop. My focus is getting that machine so it will run better than brand new. And my attention is not going to be on all these specific attributes of how do I change this or how do I change that. I'm going to be showing you some of that today to demonstrate the aptitude of this machine. But Sandra would be able to probably, with the experience that she has working with this machine, get even more in depth about showing some of the features and the functions of the machine and also some of the setbacks that she's had with the machine over the years as well. But all in all, this Janome SKYLINE S5, I found it's generally a fairly easy machine to operate. Some of the technical stuff, how do you get to this screen? How do you get to that screen? That can be a little bit more of a challenge. But that's why you've got a book like this. This is a book that Sandra loaned me when we met so she could drop the machine off, almost 90 pages. So, I mean, I've seen some operating manuals that are like 8 to 10 pages long. This is almost 90 pages long. So you get an idea of Janome wants you to be able to understand every feature and every function of the machine and not be intimidated by it, not be fearful of it. Let's see if I can find that one where I went into that. Give me just a second here. I got my little markers on here of some things that I wanted to show you guys. Let's see here. No, those are the modes. I've already talked about the modes. Let's see here. Nope, that's winding a bobbin. I'll show that to you in just a little bit. Those are screen functions. Screen functions. Let's see here. Start and stop, I already covered those. Okay. I didn't find exactly what I was looking for, but let me take you through the rest of this as far as the general features and the buttons on the machine. And then I'll see if I can go into that. But again, I'll change this back to the needle down position once I get done with the live stream. Right now, when we get done stitching our lines, the needle will stop in the up position because that's the way I prefer it. But I'll change it back so that when Sandra gets it back, she doesn't say, hey, why is it stopping in the up position now instead of the down position? So over here, I'll point out some of these buttons as well. We can program up to 50 different characters using the memory key on this machine. So let's say there's a couple of the stitches that we like over in mode 1. We can select those stitches, and then we can pick some stitches from mode 2, and then we can pick a monogram letter maybe. And when we sew that line, it's going to execute and repeat all of those stitches over and over and over and over again. Again, you can do up to 50. I don't know if I would ever go 50, but it gives you an idea of the scope of what this machine can do, where you could pick, 10 here, 20 here, and you'd still have a surplus of space where you could execute those memory stitches for this machine as well. It's also going to have some cool features like this one right over here that's labeled E. E is an elongation. Certain stitches, if you don't like the look of them and you want to stretch them out so that they're longer, so that they're elongated, when you go to sew that stitch, you simply hit this button right here. It looks like a little moon to the side. And then if you do another stitch, but you want a mirror image of that stitch, you're going to hit this button right here. This is the mirror image of most of the decorative stitches that you can do. It's going to be a start over right here. This is going to be a safety key right here for locking it. Or if I hit this button, if I'm changing out the bobbin or something like that, I don't want to sew over my finger, with a single button touch, you can lock the machine so that it can't inadvertently engage if you make the mistake of stepping, say, on the foot controller. And then when you're ready to resume, you just hit this back and you can unlock the machine. Needle positions over here. Quick access like a zigzag or a buttonhole. Easy access ones. Most of the stitches we enter today, we're going to be choosing by number. That's why I wanted to show all these stitches to you, so that as you look at all these stitches, you can go, oh, geez, I'd like to do like number 37 or 36 or whatever it is. But right now I'm going to unthread this machine, and then I'll show you how to thread it up, and we'll wind a bobbin as well, so that those basics, maybe not for Sandra, because Sandra's had this machine for some time, but others that are operating with the machine will be more comfortable with those basic setup procedures for the machine. So let me set the camera down. And since we're dealing with a Janome, does anyone remember what year Janome started making sewing machines? What year was that Janome first started making sewing machines? And I'll tell you, it was a long time after other manufacturers like Bernina and Singer and Brother and Kenmore and others. They started making machines much, much earlier than Janome. But once Janome got going, kind of like Juki, boy, oh boy, did they go crazy. And I just realized I had misspoke earlier. I was talking about that customer that would throw anything at her sewing machines. She would try a class 15 and a class 66 machine and just see what happened. That was not a Janome. That was a Juki sewing machine. And Juki started even later than Janome. They didn't start until like 1943. Okay, so let me go ahead and see if I can unthread Sandra's machine. And then we'll get this threaded back up again. I think I put the machine on top of the thread when I rotated it. There we go. So I just unthreaded the SKYLINE S5. And I'm going to be using my standard dual duty XP thread by Coats & Clark. Nothing fancy, but it's kind of my go-to thread. So we're going to be using that today in the sewing process. Actually, to get another spool of thread ready, because I think we're going to go through a lot of thread with putting this machine to the test. And I don't know if Sandra was here at the beginning, but I talked about how close bobbins can be. This is the bobbin that was in the machine when I got it from Sandra, and it's actually not the correct bobbin for this machine. It's going to be slightly off. I don't remember what I did with those measurements. Hold on a second. Here they are. So this bobbin that was in the machine, from a measurement standpoint, again, is 11.5 millimeters high, like this. And as far as the circumference, it's going to be 20 millimeters. This one right here. The bobbin that should be used in the S5 is this one right here. You can see it's also notched differently. And this is representative of what's in the book as well, this particular bobbin. It's going to be a class 15 style, and it's going to have the rounded edges on it. And the dimensions on this one, as far as a height, is going to be 11.75. And then the circumference of it, if you measure it like this, is going to be 20.5. So I'll make sure when I return this machine to Sandra that I give her, this will be in the machine, one of these bobbins, and then I can give her one extra one so she can source those other bobbins and use those. Will this one get by? Will it work? Yeah, but it'll have issues sometimes with how it's feeding the thread, because it's going to be just slightly off. You know, the 0.75 versus the 0.5 will cause the bobbin to have issues when it's turning inside of the machine. So we'll make sure we use the correct one. Okay. So let's go over to the top and let's see if I can do this in winding a bobbin. When I got the machine from Sandra, and I deal with a lot of machines, so I might be mistaken, but this was actually holding the spool of thread on. This little piece right here, if you can see that. There was this, it was kind of stuck on here. And it fits on there nicely, doesn't it? It fits on there. You can see that right there. But this is not a spool retainer. This is actually needed to wind a bobbin. And some of you out there may not have known that. Sandra probably does. But when you put it on, you got to put these little teeth facing down, because it's going to engage with the mechanism that's below the threshold right here that will actually spin that bobbin. If you try putting a bobbin on here, this bobbin right here, put it on there. It snaps on nicely. You can engage it like this. But when you go to try to wind the bobbin, it kind of grabs it, but not real. So what you do with this little piece right here is you slide it down over the top like this, and then it notches into that little turntable below, and then you put the bobbin on top of here, like so. And that way, when you engage it, it turns like it's supposed to, right? Okay, so I'm going to see if I can get this set up. I only have one hand, one hand to hold the camera and one hand to hold the bobbin. So I'm going to point it over this way and get it set up with the thread at least. Put our thread back on there. This is actually one of my little retainers. I'm going to put this on there for right now just so that it holds that in place, because when I got this from Sandra, it didn't have a spool of thread holder. And then what we're going to do is we're going to follow a little track right over here. So if we're winding a bobbin, hopefully I can't see the laptop screen real well, but hopefully you can see what I'm showing you. When you winding a bobbin, you're going to go through this little track right here and follow this path and kind of come in and around this little metal tab and then go to the top of the machine and then come all the way back to the spool over here. So again, if I point it at it with my little clipper things, we're going to come in this entrance point right here. We're going to follow this track around here through the metal up to the top, and then kind of come along here. There's a little guide right there. You can barely see it. And then follow it all the way back to the spool over here. Okay? So I'm going to set it up that way. And then once I get it winding, I'll go ahead and pick up the camera again. And you'll be able to see it doing its thing. Okay? So I'm going in track number 1. You have to kind of pull it through a little bit. And I'm going around that little metal tab, going around the back of the guide, and then I'm coming back over by the spool. And the bottom of this little spool mount, I didn't show that to you. These are going to have like little razor blades in them. So once you wind the bobbin up, you can actually pull the thread and actually can cut the thread right through these little grooves. I'll take it off and show you again. See those little razor blades right there on the bottom? So instead of having to get a snip or something like that, instead of getting a snip, when you go to start winding the bobbin, if there's a tail on there and you want to get rid of that tail, you just draw that thread in the little track. You draw that thread in that little track, and it's going to hit that razor blade and cut it straight away. All right, let me set the camera down again. It's hard being a cameraman and also an operator at the same time, I'll tell you. Okay, get that bobbin back up there. And bear with me for a second as I kind of wrap around the bobbin on this side. All right, I'm going to go ahead and engage the bobbin winder. And we'll get this going slow once I get it going. Whoops. Hang on a second. I got a little too ambitious and I pulled it out from underneath the bottom. There we go. Come on out of there. Come out of there, you silly guy. There we go. It's always more difficult doing things on camera, isn't it? So I've got that started. I'm going to go ahead and get it going a little bit. And it recommends in the manual that you wind it on the highest speed possible. So I'm going to go ahead and move it all the way over to the right. I'll hold onto that tail so we can get this going. And I could use that little razor blade thing to cut this off, but I'm going to use it the old-fashioned way and just use my snip there to kind of give that a snip off of there. All right, we'll get this going. And you can see it stops automatically when you get to a certain fill point based on how this piece is set right here. Again, this piece right here, just like on the vintage machines, this is adjustable. If you loosen that screw right there that I'm pointing at, if you loosen this screw right here, you can slide this in or out so that you can increase the fullness or decrease the fullness of that bobbin case, of that bobbin. So loosen it, push it in if you want to have less thread on the bobbin. Loosen it, push it out if you want to have more thread, and then make sure you snug up that screw again. Okay? We'll take our bobbin off. Looks like a good-looking bobbin. Go and set that there. I'll put the camera back down and we'll get this set up again. And I think we've got enough thread on this spool, but I'm going to set us up with a new one just in case. We'll put this spool as our reserve one in the back, and I'll put a brand new spool on there. Okay, and once you're done winding, you can certainly take this off, or you can leave it on there. It doesn't matter because it's not engaged right now. I'm just going to leave it on there. And now we're going to go ahead and thread the machine. I'm going to show you because I can't hold the camera up here and thread it at the same time. We're going to come through the first track. It's labeled number 1 right there. You can see that. I'm trying to see my screen. There it is. So we're going to come through this track 1. You're going to kind of pull the thread in and kind of pull it down. It's got to snap through a little piece there. And then when we come around here, we're going to come through this track. And we're going to come around here. And then come straight down this track towards the front of the machine. We'll drop down, come around the bottom through the tension discs, come up through the take-up arm, come back down again. And then when we get to this point, there's a thread guide right there. And there's another thread guide right there. And then we'll be threading the embroidery needle from front to back. And the flat side of the needle is to the rear. Okay? So I'll go ahead and start that process. I'll put the camera down because it's difficult to do both at the same time. Pull that through. Drop down through here. And whenever you're threading a machine, make sure your presser foot lever is in the up position so there's no tension on those discs. Otherwise, you're not going to get the thread in there. You're going to have bird nesting issues on the bottom. And make sure your take-up arm is as high as it'll go. It's all the way at the highest position. I'll draw that thread through the back. There's a nice little quick loop to get it in there nicely. Back down through here. And again, we've got a thread guide. I'll show you once I get it in there. We've got a thread guide right there. Got to kind of snap it in. And then another thread guide to the other side. Let me move the camera to the side a little bit. So I'm down at this stage right now. Got that threaded. This one's going to thread from kind of the left to the right. And you're going to draw the thread towards the middle. And then once I get to that point, I lower the presser foot. It's a little bit easier for me to then try to thread that needle eye. And this does have an auto needle threader, which I never use. Kind of like the thread cutters. Sometimes they work great. Sometimes they don't work great. So I just do it the old-fashioned way. And I just thread it manually. And what I should be doing right now to demonstrate a good safety principle, but I didn't do it. Right now, the machine is active. When I'm down here at the needle, just in case I accidentally bump that foot controller, what I should be doing is locking the machine. That way I can't accidentally sew my finger, right? So I just lock the machine, which is the best safety principle. And I'll go ahead and thread this from front to back. Let me give the end of that thread a clip. It's kind of frayed a little bit. Draw it in there, and then you can raise your presser foot again. Draw that thread to the rear. And right now we've got our bobbin threaded already, but we're going to take that bobbin out of there and put a fresh bobbin in, the one that we just wound. So you push this little mechanism right here to the rear, to the right. This will pop up. You can open this up as well. And a nice feature on this machine is being able to get this cover off if you have to make adjustments to the bobbin case, or if you want to clean it, get the lint out in that. I'll just show that to you real quick. We'll take the bobbin out first. Kind of draw that out like that. Yeah, we were pretty low. It's a good thing I changed that one out. We were almost out of thread, getting real quite low. We'll put a brand new one in, then we'll start fresh. So I'm going to put this one to the rear. Well, let's say I want to get in there and I want to check things out. It's got a nice little quick release right here on the front right side of the bed. It's right there. You just push down and the whole plate will pop up. So you can then remove that plate. Make sure your needle is way at the highest position. You don't catch that needle. You can slide this out. And that way, if you do need to get in there and make an adjustment on your bobbin case, you can take that bobbin case out readily like this. You can make an adjustment on that screw. Let's say your top stitching is looking a little bit loose. You can turn this in real small increments clockwise. And what it's going to do is it's going to increase the pull down to define that top stitch better. This defines the top stitch. That upper tension that is concealed in here defines that lock stitch. So if we have to make adjustments on it, we make adjustments to this screw right here, and then it will tighten up that stitch for the top. And this also allows you to service it a little bit. This is an oil point right in the middle right there. If I point at it with these, you'll want to put about every 8 hours of sewing, you want to put 2 drops of oil in there to lubricate, and it irrigates that entire hook system. And then there's lots of pivot points in here. If you rock the balance wheel, you'll see all the oiling points in here as well that are essential. And then as you put the bobbin case back in, your little red dot, if you can see that little red dot right there, it's going to be facing towards the front, right in proximity to this red dot right here. So we're going to kind of slide that back in. I'll try to do this one-handed. You can see it's going to be floating. It's going to be floating on top of that hook system. As that hook system is operating, this bobbin case with that lid on will stay in a fixed position. So we also want to put a little bit of lubricant on that ledge so that that ledge is going to be nice and slick and allow that machine to operate smoothly. So I'm going to aim the camera that way. I've got all my other stuff on the other workbench right now. There it is. And right on this ledge where that bobbin case kind of glides on top of it, you just put a tiny little bead of oil right there. And a tiny little bead of oil on the other side as well. And that will allow that bobbin case to float on top of the hook system without creating drag and causing issues in the sewing process. Okay? Put a drop in the middle as well. And since we're going to be operating the machine right away, what I usually do is if there's a little bit of residual oil in there, I'll just clean it up a little bit before I put the plate back on. There we go. So when you put the plate back on, again, make sure that that's seated properly. It is. We're going to keep that thread out of the way. We'll slide the plate back underneath the presser foot, just real slowly and carefully. Let me do it like this. It's easier for me. Okay, once you get to that point, you tip it up a little bit. Make sure your thread is clear of it. It is. And then you just carefully push it just slightly to the left and down at the same time, and it will snap back into place. Okay. Now we can put our bobbin in next, the one that we just wound. You'll have the thread coming over the top. Kind of drop it in, and then you'll draw it underneath. There's a little lip right there that will let you pull it into the tension band. Just draw that to the rear. Now we'll go ahead and rotate our balance wheel and pull that thread up. See if I can keep my hand out of your way. Draw that out of the way. Put those threads to the rear. Put our little plastic plate back on. There we go. Yeah, I was pulling that thread the wrong way initially, and that's why that little loop didn't pop up nicely like it normally does. That was my fault because I was pulling in the wrong direction. That's what happens when you're trying to do too many things with your hands, I guess, huh? So I'm going to go ahead and unlock the machine again. Go ahead and unlock it over here. We're ready to start. And you're going to automatically have defaults that this machine will choose for you. Say, for example, with straight stitch, which is going to be stitch number 1 in mode 1. It's going to automatically give you a 2.4 as far as length, but I want to do a longer one. So what I can do then is just bump it up from 2.4 all the way up to 5. 5.0 is going to be the longest stitch setting on this SKYLINE S5. So I'm going to get some material ready. We'll do a straight stitch. We'll do a zigzag. We might do a 3-point zigzag. And then I'd like to jump into some of the fun stitches so y'all can check those out too. All right, I just have some basic, let's see here. I've got so many sew-off materials ready, so many. Let's use this color. It's kind of a pretty green. So we'll start with a real long straight stitch. And then we'll eventually jump into some of the fun stuff. So I've got to look at the machine a little bit, make sure that we're set up. I don't want to start that fast, so I'm going to slow us down. Slow us down to probably around mid-range. Longest stitch length setting right now. Nothing else I have to choose. Center needle position. All right, so let's just start with a basic straight stitch. And then we can see if we have any tension issues that we have to address. Right now, you'll see that when I got the machine from Sandra, it was set on auto. Here's the thing about these machines that have the auto tension selection, where if you rotate it all the way over here, you've got a green setting that says auto on it. You can see that right there. As the machine ages and the tolerance and the separation on the mechanisms that control that auto feature become a little bit more stretched out, which is a natural process of a machine settling in. It's like breaking in a car. As it becomes stretched out and becomes settled in, this is not going to be as accurate for all the sewing. So what I prefer to do is I prefer to set it myself. And so I just rotated it over. I think I was at about 5.5, which is still a really low setting. Right about there, I think is where I was, somewhere in that area. And I'm just going to manually set it at about 5. We'll do our first stitch off. We'll see how it looks as far as the stitch tension balance, and then we'll adjust this. I've already shown you if we have to, we can pop this plate off and we can always adjust the bobbin case. For a lot of you, that makes you nervous, but don't let it make you nervous. Just take it in real small increments and small steps. If you're not able to achieve what you want by adjusting the tension up here, and you're still having issues with how that top stitch looks, then you can always take that bobbin case out and make an adjustment there. I had to do that when I got the machine in it. It was needing to be adjusted to get a nice balance, because you don't want to have to go all the way up to the top setting on the tension to get your desired results. You want to be right around mid-range, which is where we are right now. Okay? So we'll start with a straight stitch. See if I can back the camera up a little bit. Yeah, because the faceplate on this is so robust, it's so huge, it kind of gets in the way when you're shooting the camera from the side. So I'll see what I can do. Maybe I'll adjust it. Maybe I'll put the camera out here more from the front. Yeah, then that's kind of too far away, isn't it? We'll try it from there, see how that works. At least gives you a clearer shot, I think. All right, so let's give us a go. We'll do our straight stitch. We'll see how we're sewing, and then we'll move into some other stitches after that. I'm just going to back this up a little bit. All right. Machine is unlocked. Let's see how this does. Get my foot pedal out so I can actually hit it. All right, here we go. All right, so that's our straight stitch. Yeah, I think we got some good bobbin balance right now. That's this is our lock stitching on the bottom. It looks a little bit more pronounced than our top stitching, although the top stitching looks really good too. I think though, we're getting a little bit more emphasis on the bottom. So what I'm going to do to take a little bit away from that, not much, take a little bit away from this and give it back to that top stitching to make it even a little bit more pronounced, is I'm just going to go ahead and back off our upper tension just ever so slightly. Ever so slightly. We'll go right to about 5. Give that a go. All right, move that over there. But some real nice stitching that we're starting out with. Let me get my clips and we'll move on to a zigzag. And I'm going to do the widest zigzag possible so you can get an idea. If you think you have a big zigzag on your machine, wait until you see the zigzag on this SKYLINE S5 on Sandra's machine. It blew me away when I went to that setting and I stitched it. It was like, you've got to be kidding. That's huge. So we'll get our material back in. Press our foot down. Now we have to change stitches. So if we go back up to our stitches up here, kind of looking across in mode 1, going across. Okay, so zigzag options are 11 and 12. Depending on which way you want that zigzag to be facing, if you want that zigzag points to be pointing to the right, you'll pick number 11. If you want those zigzag points to be pointing to the left, you'll choose number 12. And then we've got a 3-point zigzag in 13. So we'll do one of these two, and then we'll do 13 right after that. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my screen, and all I'm going to do is punch in the number. Let me show this to you. So as I go over here, if I want to pick number 11, for example, I'm in mode 1. You see our modes are on the left side of the screen right here. So as I change modes, you'll see it go from 1 through 6. Back to mode 1. And now I'm going to do a zigzag with the points to the right. So I'm just going to hit 11 like that. Now we've got our zigzag set up. Now it's only giving us a 3.0 as far as the width. I want something crazy wide, and I want to go to the longest stitch length so I can show you the biggest zigzag possible. So I'm going to go up here all the way to 9. And I'm going to go here on the stitch length. This is stitch width, stitch length. I'm going to go on the stitch length all the way up to 5. That's as big as it gets. That's like that's a Texas zigzag is what that is. That's a Texas zigzag. All right, so let's lay down this Texas style zigzag, and then we'll jump into some of the other fun stuff. I didn't sew very straight, did I? Ha ha ha. All right, here we go. A Texas size zigzag. You can see my needle is ending in the up position right now. Sandra had it so it was ending in the down position. So I'll change that back before I send the machine back. Look at that zigzag. You want to talk about a huge, ginormous zigzag. That's about as big as it gets. Now, when you do a zigzag like this, you've got these touch points right here for the needle, 1, 2, and 3. So with only 3 support points, when we turn it over, if we see any looseness then we would have to bump that upper tension up again to tighten it up. But right now I'm looking at some really lovely stitching that we're getting so far. The straight stitching, the zigzagging, we turn it over. Yeah, we maintain some really good tension, even with a zigzag that wide. This is our lock stitching. And all those points are nice and snug and well-defined, just as they should be. Absolutely gorgeous. My sewing is not very straight. It's not very straight at all, but the machine is doing a great job. I wish I could program it to say, help Scott sew straight. Yeah, let's go straight if we can. But that's a beautiful, beautiful stitch quality. And it just shows you again, if you've had a snobbery, if you've been a little bit of a snob when it comes to contemporary quilting style machines or contemporary machines in general, you can see just how absolutely drop dead gorgeous the stitching is on Sandra's machine. And it might tempt you to start looking at, I wonder if there's any SKYLINE S5s for sale out there. You may not be able to get a new one anymore, but you might be able to get a nice used one that's been maintained well. All right, so let me get that material back in. Get that presser foot down. Now, I didn't show this to you, but I'm so glad that Sandra's machine doesn't have an auto presser foot adjuster where you don't have any control over it. Hers, you can adjust it, and it's right up here. See if I can get the camera up there. Right here, easy to get to, and your set point is going to be right at the 9 o'clock position when you adjust the dial. So you're going to be able to adjust it between 1 and 5. Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to be able to adjust it between 1 and 5, and this will be your set point over here. So right now I've got it turned up. Well, no, 1 and 6. I'm sorry, 1 and 6. It goes between 1 and 6. So I've got it on 5 right now, and they've got a little square around it, which is telling you that Janome is saying that most people for most material sewing are going to be setting it on 5. That's going to be kind of your sweet spot. So we've got 5. You could turn it down to 4 if you're sewing something more light and you're getting bunching or you're getting some puckering on the material. You could turn it down to 3, down to 2, even down to 1. But 1, you might have some issues with the feed moving over those feed dogs. So I don't know that I would try going that low, but you could certainly give it a try. So I've got it set on the sweet spot right now on 5. And if we run into an issue where we need to go through thicker materials, like Sandra might be doing with quilting or something like that, you can bump it up 1 more all the way to 6. And then you're going to have the maximum presser foot pressure to feed that material evenly and not have issues with breaking needles and other things like that. I think there's some of those challenges Sandra was talking about might have been partly a presser foot issue. So don't be afraid to go to the max if you've got something really, really thick. And if you've got something super thick as well, the beauty on this S5 is on the back that you can't see right now, where the presser foot lever is. I can go to the up position right there, but if I got something super thick, I can actually hyperextend it and watch how high it goes up. All the way up to there. You literally more than double your presser foot clearance by pushing that presser foot lever up to the hyperextension part. And I've shown that to you in other machines as well that have it, but this is crazy how much clearance you're getting there. Look at that. Compared to that, that's the standard clearance right there. So if you have a real thick project and you're working with one of these SKYLINE S5s and you're having trouble getting it underneath there, use that hyperextension and you should be able to fit it in very nicely and then just lower it back down to the normal setting and then eventually drop it down when you get ready to sew. But the clearance for the presser foot on this S5 is about as good as I've seen it on a contemporary quilting machine. Janome does a fabulous job of engineering machines so that it's going to be easy for the user and less frustrating. They do just a fabulous job. All right, so I'm going to drop that presser foot again. Now we're going to lay down a 3-point zigzag. And again, when you choose a stitch on this S5, it's going to automatically give you a default. So if we go over to the 3-point zigzag, you can see it's up here in mode 1. It's going to be stitch 13, stitch number 13. Hopefully you can see that right there. So I'm already in mode 1. I just have to punch in 13. And now we've got our 3-point zigzag. And you can see as a default, what it's given us is it's given us a stitch width of 5, which we know that's about half the maximum. We can go all the way up to 9. So you could always change that if you don't want that. Let's say you want something wider or more narrow. You just bump it up or down accordingly. Let's say you don't want a stitch that short. You can go from 1, and if the machine will allow you, sometimes it won't, you can bump it up a little bit to say 2. Yeah, but I'm going to go with the default because Janome is smarter than I am when it comes to this machine, and we'll see what their default stitch looks like, and then we can always change it if we don't like it. You know what I mean? We can always change it. This table's making me nervous. It's kind of grabbing that cord a little bit. I don't want to disconnect the video. We had audio problems at the beginning. Now I'll end up disconnecting the video, which would be horrible. All right, so let's lay down this 3-point zigzag, and then we'll jump into some of the really, really cool stitches and some of the monograms and everything else we can goof around with during this live stream, okay? All right, so a 3-point zigzag. Here we go. And I'm going to speed it up a little bit. I'm going to speed this machine up a little bit so you can get an idea of that. Again, it has almost a 1 amp motor. It has 0.8 amps. So let's put that pedal to the metal a little bit. There we go. So that's our 3-point zigzag. I'm looking at some really good looking top stitching, really nicely defined. How do we do on the back side? Yeah, real nice balance as well. So right now, our manual setting of 5 on top, I showed that to you. Our manual setting of 5 on top. Let me set this down so I can make sure that cord doesn't snag. Our manual setting of 5 right now is working very, very nicely. And Sandra may decide to go back to the auto setting again. That's up to her. But I prefer to have control over that so that depending on the materials I'm sewing, the thickness, the thread, the setup, the needle I'm working with, I have control over that versus trusting the machine is going to get it right. Sometimes the machine might get it right. Sometimes it might not. So I would prefer to control that myself. We'll give these a clip and we'll take a look at them a little bit closer, and then we'll move into some of the other fun stitches. So this is what we've done so far. We've done a basic straight stitch. We've done a zigzag, super wide Texas style zigzag. And then we did a 3-point zigzag as well. Seeing some beautiful, beautiful stitch quality, the spacing, the formation, everything about that stitching is exactly as it should be. Absolutely gorgeous. You know, if we turn it over and look at our lock stitching, we got some equally gorgeous lock stitching as well. I've said this before, that if your machine goes through the workshop magic that I do here, you should be able to put on a blindfold and have somebody show you a picture of the lock stitch and the top stitch, and they should be indistinguishable. You won't be able to tell which is which. A lot of sewists, because their machines are not functioning and not sewing well, you can right away look at that and tell which one the lock stitch is. It's usually going to be the one that doesn't look good because the lock stitch is a little bit more difficult for the machine to generate. But here we've got some beautiful, beautiful stitching. The only thing I'm seeing is that our presser foot pressure for this light sew off with the 2 layers of cotton and a stiffener is a little bit too heavy. That's why we're getting some of that puckering on the edges. So we could solve that if we wanted to by just reducing the presser foot pressure from 5, which is where we're at right now, to say 4 or maybe even 3. And then we would get rid of that puckering that's happening on the material back. But the stitch quality, wow. Wow. Absolutely drop dead gorgeous stitching. And that shows you again that a contemporary machine can lay down stitching that is brag-worthy, and that any owner of a vintage sewing machine would say, that's gorgeous. I love it. And it might even tempt them to say, I think I might look at getting an S5. I might look at getting an S5. All right, so let's move into something else now. If any of you wrote down any of those numbers, that I showed you earlier, I want you to go ahead and type that into the live chat right now. I'm going to show them to you again. I'm going to show you mode 1, mode 2. I'll show you some of the other modes, modes like the European lettering and the acrylic lettering and all that. I don't know if that's really going to be something that we want to get into in this live stream, but if you want me to try stitching it, I'll try stitching it. And certainly some of the monogramming, maybe we can come up with somebody typing in, 10 to 15 characters, or, a word or a name or whatever you want to type in the live chat. And then I'll go ahead and program that in, and we'll have the machine sew it, kind of like I sewed my name at the beginning. I showed that to you. When I was testing the machine, I did Scott. So we could certainly do something else. And remember, I showed you those buttons on this machine that will help you in the pattern. I should have done that here. See how I have half a heart? And here was kind of goofed up. If you use that end pattern program key right here, it will finish off that pattern and it'll stop instead of starting another one and doing it halfway. So it's really a nice feature on this S5 as well, that pattern end key that's right here within reach near the front of the machine. So conveniently located. Okay. So I don't know if anybody wrote any numbers down. It looks like Susie did. Mode 2, 43. I would like mode 2, 44 and 69. So why don't we try doing all three of those stitches, and I'll use the programming key if that's okay with all of you. We'll program all three of those stitches that you want to see in mode 2. Let's see, mode 2, 43, 44, and 69. So let's program those and see if we can get that done. So 43, first of all, we have to change our modes over here. Right now we're in mode 1, mode 2 now, and then we want to start with stitch 43, right? So I'm going to hit 4, 3, and then I have to hit the M for program or memory. Now I'm going to pick my next stitch, which is 44. So I'm going to hit 44 and program. Now I'm going to pick my last stitch that Teresa and Susie picked, 69. I'm going to hit 69 and memory. I think I hit it too many times. I hope I didn't screw it up. Okay, so we should be able to stitch all three stitches now. And what it'll do when you put them in the memory, it will repeat them over and over and over again. So let's say you have a certain number or certain types of stitches that you want to go on the edge of a garment or on the edge of a quilt. It will continue to replicate that over and over and over and over and over again without stopping until you stop. So assuming I programmed it correctly, which I believe I did, then we'll try sewing those stitches now and see if we can get all three of them done in one fell swoop. Okay. All right. Where's my speed? Angle the camera down. Move the camera out so you can see it a little bit easier. Move the camera in. There we go. Okay, so assuming I did it right, what we should do is we should be able to stitch on mode 2, 43, 44, and 69. And if I've got enough room, which I don't know if I will, it'll start it over and over and over again. And then we could always hit the mirror image and reverse those patterns depending on what they are. Or the elongation one as well, too. I showed that to you on the keyboard over there. Okay, all right, let's see what we get. Here we go. And remember, as it's moving the material back and forth like this, that's called tri-motion. So Sandra's machine doesn't just generate these beautiful stitches using the needle, it uses those feed dogs to rapidly move the material back and forth in perfect timing with the needle to execute those stitches. Okay? I don't know if it did it or not. I don't know if I did that right. Oh, where'd my bobbin? My bobbin thread did something weird. Okay, I'm going to start this over. My bobbin thread did something weird. Hold on a second. Let's try that again. I must have totally scared it. I'm going to grab a different piece of material and give this a little bit more space to work with. I think I might also clear the memory and make sure that I entered that correctly. Okay, that was easy. Give this a clip. It was just in the middle of doing that. Actually, I think I'm going to sew this one on this blue material instead. I got this blue material. I usually buy the cheapy stuff. This was a little bit more, but it's super cool looking. Okay, I'm going to clear the memory over here and just punch them in one more time because I'm not sure that I did that right. I hit that key. So there's a there's a C button right here that will allow you to clear it. Okay, that's it. Perfect. Okay, so I think I cleared it correctly. Again, Sandra could be here probably giving me some tips and tricks as well because she's spent so much more time with this machine than I have. Okay, so I'm going to try this again. I'll program these in one more time. 43, 44, 69. 43, 44, 69. 43, 44, 69. Okay, I think I might have done it right that time, hopefully. All right, let's give this a try again. I'm going to slow the machine down just a little bit too. All right, let's see if I can get it done this time. I wonder if I combined all those. That's what I ended up getting. I'll have to look at those. 43. 43. That's part of it. Maybe I can't combine those in memory. I do them separately. I'm still learning the tips and tricks of this machine, so I think we'll try the stitches individually. I'm not sure that... Oh, it's okay. I see what it's doing. It's auto-cutting it now. It's auto-cutting my bobbin thread. Okay. All right. I'm going to try these again, and I'm going to do them individually. All right. Clear that. Mode 2. And I think we had 43. Yep, 43. Certain patterns you can combine them in memory, certain you can't. Maybe I think it's trying to blend them all together or something. All right, let's try this again. I'm going to try just pattern 43, and then we'll go on to 44 and 69. All right. I remember reading in the book that certain patterns you can combine, certain ones you can't. So I should have spent more time reading the book, probably. All right, I'm going to stop right there. I probably should have hit that pattern end thing. All right. So when I do what the machine tells me to do, things work out better, don't they? So that's pattern 43. I was trying to combine all three of them in memory, thinking that it would sew one after the other, but I think it was trying to combine them when it did this one over here. So this is pattern 43. I'm going to go ahead and do pattern 44 next, and then 69. All right, let me bring that back. All right, so pattern 44, I think, is the next one. Yep, 44. All right. Pattern 44, and then the last one we'll do is 69. So this is the pattern 44 that the ladies wanted to see. Yeah, very nice. And turning it over, you can see the lock stitching is beautiful as well. Some of these decorative stitches, because of the intricacy of them, you may have to make subtle adjustments to the upper tension to adjust them, especially with the lock stitching, but that looks really, really good. So I think we have one more stitch that the ladies have picked, 69. And then I'll show you the stitches again if there's one you want to pick. Otherwise, give me a phrase. Give me a phrase or something that you want me to try to program in using the monogram system on this machine. And we can go ahead and try doing some monogramming as well. So now I'm going to do 69. And all I'm doing to change between these, now that I've given up on the memory thing with them, is I'm just punching in the next number. So 69. And now we're going to do this last stitch that the ladies had picked before. Yeah, 69 is it. Okay. All right, stitch number 69 in mode 2. 69 in mode 2. Here we go. Stop right there. Oh, that's a lovely one. That's a beautiful one, isn't it? That's quite spectacular. Quite spectacular. Yeah, very, very nice. I'll pull that thread a little bit more so we can get a little bit closer. Yeah, very, very nice. You can see our balance right now is really quite nice. Our lock stitching is looking really quite spot on. Quite spot on. Yeah, beautiful stitching. Doesn't this S5 do a lovely job? In spite of me not knowing the book as well as as I would hope to know it in such a short period of time, the machine makes up for my oversights, doesn't it? It says, just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Don't try plugging this in or that in, and just run the stitches. And it does a lovely, lovely job. Lovely job. Yeah, I like this material. I might get this again. This is one of those fat quarters from Walmart, and it's one of the more fancy colors. I like the way it presents, don't you? Yeah, very nice. Yeah, very, very nice. Okay, I'm going to cut that edge off since that was kind of like a faux pas mistake. We'll start with a clean slate. There we go. So I've got to look at the live chat and see if anyone typed anything in there. Oh, wizard would be good. Wizard, Susie for monogram. Type the wizard. Type the wizard. Thanks for sharing. So am I typing the word wizard or wizard and maybe I can do wizard and Susie, huh? If I have enough room to do that, I think I do. Wizard and Susie, because they're only 9mm size monogram letters. So Wizard and Susie, you think? Maybe I should do that one. Yeah, Wizard and Susie. We'll do that on here. I actually practiced that, so I think I'll nail that. Maybe. Wizard and Susie. Okay. I got so many other material pieces available. We could go on for quite a while with this. Okay, Wizard and Susie. All right, so let's go over to here. Now, to get to the monograms, we have to go to mode 6, remember? We've got mode 1, which is utility and decorative. We've got mode 2, which is all decorative. We've got mode 3, I think is European lettering or something like that. Mode 4, which is acrylic lettering, whatever that is. And then we've got mode 5 where we got, yeah. Anyway, we've got a variety of choices, but we have to go to mode 6 to get our monogramming. So I'm going to go to mode 6. Let's see here, mode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to try to type in Wizard and Susie. Let's see here. So for a W, I need 33. Memory. I is, where is it? I is 19. See, this is what I'm pulling from right here. This is our mode 6. We have to choose our letter, and then we have to punch in the corresponding number with it. So I've got to put in 16 now. Oh, 19, excuse me, 19 now for I. And then Z is going to be 36. And then A, 11. And then R, 28. And then D is going to be 14. Now, I don't remember how to make a space. I should have checked the book more carefully. I don't know if I don't remember what you punch in to make a space. Let me see here. Hold on a second. Oh, gumdrops. Hold on a second. I will get this. I will get this. All right. That's A. 11. R is 28. And D is 14. Wonder if there's a special symbols. Is there? There's no special symbols, is there? I should have read what 97, 98, 99 do. Maybe a little gap or something. I'm going to try 37 to put a dot. Aha! Now we're cooking with grease. I'm going to put one more dot. And now and A-N-D 11. N is 24. 14. Then another dot. And another dot. And then Susie, 29. 31. 29. 19. And 15. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I think I'm out of my element with this computerized machine. And what will happen now is once I start sewing, it should show on the screen as it's finishing each of the letters. So I hope I have enough room for Wizard and Susie. Hopefully I do. I'll go back and forth between the material and the screen so you can kind of see what's happening on the screen, that sort of thing. All right. Hopefully I got this right. I don't have the level of experience with this machine that Sandra does, but we'll figure it out. Okay. I think I put an extra space in there for no reason, so oh well. Okay. I'm going to start sewing. Let's see what we get. Hopefully we get Wizard and Susie or something like that. I should have, you know what I should have done? Maybe I can still do it. I think I can still do it. I remember on the memory thing, you can go between modes, so I could put a little heart in there. Let's see here. Hold on. Let me see. I'm going to be ambitious. So if I go back to mode 2, I could punch in 46. Dare I do that? Should I be that bold? Or that confident that I won't mess it up? Hopefully not. 46. Let's see if I can go back to mode 2. Right now we're down in mode 6. We did all of that. Now I read that you can skip between modes with a memory thing. So let's get back to mode 2. And now I'm going to punch in 40. Susie, do you want 46 or 47, hon? 46 or 47? Susie, 46 or 47, hon? Okay, I'm not getting any response, so I'm gonna do 47. What'd you pick? 46. All right, I'll pick 46 then. Okay, so 46 now, mode 2. Memory. Okay, let's see if I don't know if this is going to work or not. The machine is working perfectly. Scott the Wizard is not working so well. All right, let me see if I can do this. Get my foot on the foot controller. I'll slow it down just a little bit. Here we go. It's typing the I right now. Now the Z. Soon the D. Yeah, come on, buddy. You got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. Now it's doing my dot. It's doing my dot. Doing my other dot. I don't think we're going to have enough room. It's going to be real close. We're probably going to cut the hearts off. Doggone it. I'm going to have to do Susie in another line. We're going to run out of space. It's got her S. Oh, gee whiz. Come on, buddy. Oh, no. All right, stop there. Stop there. Doggone it. All right, we'll continue it on the. Hold on. I'll get it. So I didn't leave enough space, did I? I didn't leave enough space. That's what I got so far. Wizard and Susie. I don't even know if I spelled wizard right. It's a long day. So let's finish off Susie right up here. I need to cut bigger material, apparently. All right. So it's stuck on the S right now. Finish that off. Oh, it only gave me one of the hearts. Oh, I was too close to the edge. See, that's the thing when you're doing embroidery stitches like this. When you're doing decorative and ornamental stitches like this, you've got to be careful to have your material far enough underneath the presser foot. If you don't have it far enough in, it doesn't feed right with all of the feed dog movement in the needle. But you know what? For not having the level of intimacy with this machine that Sandra has, we kind of pulled it off a little bit. But here you can see what happens when you don't have the material far enough in underneath the presser foot. It kind of put the S and the I together, didn't it? Because it wasn't feeding it properly. And that's my fault. I didn't slide it far enough in. But that's fun, isn't it? Being able to create your own words and everything like that. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Very, very nice. All right, I'm going to show you the stitches again. If there's anyone else that wants to pick out some stitches, maybe the owner would like to pick out some stitches. Or maybe we can monogram something else and I'll use a bigger piece of material. I'll use a bigger piece of material. I don't think I've cut them any bigger than this, so the fat quarter size. But that's cool. You can jump between the modes. We went from mode 6 with the monogramming. We went back to mode 2 and picked out the heart. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Kind of cool. All right. Okay. Any other? I'll show you the stitches again. We'll see if there's any other selections. We've been running just about 2 hours. And I've had a chance to show you a number of things. I showed you how to thread the machine. I showed you the bobbin winding. I showed you some DIY stuff as far as getting that cover off and reinserting the bobbin case and lubricating it and that sort of thing. There's so many things that I could show you on this machine. Oh, I know the other thing I did not show you is if you want to do free motion quilting or freehand embroidery, where is the feed dog drop? On a lot of Janomes, a lot of the Janomes, the feed dog drop is going to be on the back of the free arm. There's going to be a little lever you slide left or right, and that's going to let the feed dogs drop so you can do free motion quilting. Not on this one. On the SKYLINE S5, the feed dog drop is going to be all the way over here on the right side of the machine, right there. That's going to be your feed dog drop. Right now, when it's pushed to the rear, the feed dogs are all the way up. As you move it forward, the feed dogs will drop so you can do free motion quilting, freehand embroidery, etc. Okay? And I didn't show you this either. This is going to be a plug-in so you can do the presser foot knee lift. It's going to be a knee lift. And then this, right underneath this little plug, where is it? This is going to be a knee lift so you don't have to reach in the back of the machine and keep pushing the lever up and down. And then this is going to be a feed dog adjustment. There's going to be a little adjuster inside of there that will allow you to make adjustments to the feed depending on the patterns that you're working with. And again, that's something that you might not want to fuss around with because it's preset from the factory. And for most all applications, it's going to do a really, really good job. But if you feel like you want to dig into that, you can certainly do that. Okay. Other than that, I think that's most of the stuff. For servicing the machine, this whole bottom half comes off right here as it does on the other side. Lots of servicing. I showed those pictures to you at the beginning of how filthy everything seems to, with gravity, fall to the bottom. So this area has to be cleaned regularly, not just removing this off, but also removing the bottom off as well. That way, if you're a canned air person, I don't recommend canned air. Canned air usually will take lint and deposits, especially if you're working with like a polar fleece. It'll take that fleece and actually push it deeper into the machine. So canned air is not the best choice, but it might be okay if you, first of all, take the bottom of this off. And that way, when you blow it through, it's going to go onto the surface under. It's not going to go down and then go deeper into the machine. So this comes off. This comes off. This comes off as well. There's two bolts. There's one kind of tucked underneath the spool. And then there's another one right here. And then there's one more back over here. All three of those have to come off. And then this whole lid area will come off so you can service the machine more deeply. Yeah. I think I covered most everything on the machine, the features and the functions and everything like that. I enjoy the features and functions and, making it practical, and making it so that the machine will be able to go in the hands of someone that, like Sandra, that is intimately familiar with the machine, and she can have a perfectly running machine that she can then put to work to create all the wonders that she wants to create. Yeah. Well, let me do this. Let me show you the stitches again. If there's any stitches you want me to try to do, I'll do the memory thing. If there's a stitch that you want me to sew once and then go ahead and do a mirror image of it, we can do a stitch and then do a mirror image of it. Some of those that'll work with, some of them it won't, where you can flip it one way or the other. I don't remember from the book which stitches I can elongate, but if I choose a stitch and I try to click the elongate button, which is this one right over here, where is it? This one right here, that'll elongate a stitch. If it's not going to work, then it won't work. Yeah. So this is our elongate. That's our mirror image. This is going to be our start over. Our lock button for the safety. Twin needle. I didn't point that out, but there it is. There's our twin needle button right there. Yeah, needle position, quick zigzag, buttonhole. It's a fairly complex, but still a user-friendly machine. It's fairly complex, but user-friendly. Okay, mode one. I'm going to go through mode one, which is a combination of utility and decorative. You can look at those and pick out a number that might appeal to you. Mode one. We're moving over to mode two now, starting mode two right there with stitch 01 through 93, it looks like. And again, we can, according to the book, we can program up to 50 stitches. 50 of anything, pretty much. I'll show you mode one more time. Mode one. Moving into mode two. Some really pretty ones in mode two, aren't there? It's gorgeous. Some of these over here, like 78, 79, 80. Absolutely gorgeous. We've got mode three. Mode 3 and 5, we'll kind of look at those together. Mode 3 and 5. Those are the acrylic lettering and the European lettering, if I remember correctly. Well, actually, that's not true. These are regular numbers and letters. And then I believe the second one is the European. Mode 5 is European, I believe. And mode 6, or excuse me, mode 4 is going to be, wait, let me check the book again. Hold on a second. I only glanced at the book briefly last night, going from memory. Let me see here. I'll get the modes right. That way you know what the modes are. Maybe you don't have an accessory book that goes into all the particulars. At least then you'll know. Okay, now I've got Sandra's book open, so I'll get it right. So mode 1 is, like I said, utility and decorative. Mode 2 is decorative stitch patterns. Mode 3 is number and letter selection. That's where I goof up. Mode 3 is going to be number and letter selection. So if you want to do something with numbers and letters, that's your thing right there. Plus it has special characters as well. That's what I was looking for down by the monograms, is some of those special characters. And then mode 4 is going to be the European letters, European accented letters. Mode 5 is the acrylic ones, acrylic letter selection, this one here. Mode 5 is acrylic. And then finally, the monogramming, which each one of them is 9 millimeters in size, is going to be that final mode, mode number 6. Oops, I just hit a button. That's the thing with a touch screen. You better not bump it, because all of a sudden it's going to start doing something. It's going to start sewing all by itself. All right, so let's see here. Looks like Susie, mode 2, number 5. Let me write these down. Mode 5. And I asked a question near the beginning of the live stream. When did Janome, we're looking at a Janome right now, when did Janome first start making sewing machines? The answer is 1921. Their first sewing machine was all the way back in 1921. And the company was founded originally not as Janome. It was founded as Pine Sewing Machine Company, and was producing its first domestic sewing machine right around 1921. It wasn't until quite a time later, 1935, that a bunch of the Japanese big shots were sitting in a boardroom, and one of them had a bobbin. Well, I don't know how many of us carry around bobbins in our pockets, but maybe we do. but one of them had a bobbin in their pocket. And while they were talking about maybe rebranding and coming up with a different name, they were looking at the bobbin and it looked like the eye of a snake, at least to that guy. Maybe he had been sipping sauce or something. I don't know. But he looked at that and he goes, we should call ourselves Janome, Eye of the Snake. And the rest of them were ready for lunch. So they're like, yeah, cool. That's a great idea. Let's call ourselves Janome. But you can imagine they were operating for about 2 decades before they ever came up with this name. Prior to that, they were the Pine Sewing Machine Company. No idea why Pine, but maybe someone else can research that and share that at another live stream. Yeah, so sometimes we start with the name that we stick with, and sometimes we change midstream after 20 years of being in business. Almost 20 years, and we come up with a totally different name. So there you go. All right, let me write these down. Let's see. So mode 2, number 5, that's Susie's. And we've got mode 1, 65. Yeah, I think those are the only two. Just Susie and Jenny gave those 2 options. So I'm going to see if I can stitch off on those. So we will first of all go back to mode 1. And we're looking at, we'll do Jenny's first. Mode 1 and then stitch 65. Oh, that's a fun one. And again, you're going to get automatically a default when you put one of these stitches in. The default on this stitch that Jenny picked, I believe, stitch 65 in mode 1, is going to start with the widest stitch setting possible, 9, and then only 2.5 on the stitch length. So once you sew it, if you say, well, I want to use that on a quilt, but I want it to look differently, then you can tweak it and change the stitch width possibly to something a little bit more narrow, or something a little bit more narrow, a little bit longer. And I don't know if this particular stitch will let us do it, but we also have the elongation button right there. If I hit it, I don't know if it'll do anything or not. Let me try. It's not going to let me. So on that particular stitch, you can't elongate it, but depending on what the stitch is, once we sew it once, we could always hit the mirror image right there, the one right there. And then it'll sew that pattern, flipping it the opposite way. And depending on what you're working on, that might be exactly what you need, right? It might be exactly what you need. Okay. So we'll do Jenny's first, and then we'll do Susie's right after that. All right. This cord is like, yeah, I don't want to go that way. I don't want to go that way. Okay. And I think I'll put this one down. We haven't sewn on any red yet. I love the color of red. So I think we'll do this one on some red material. I had a whole bunch set up because I didn't know how many folks we would have that were wanting to see a particular stitch. There we go. So we'll do Jenny's stitch first, and then we'll do Susie's next, which is going to be stitch 5 in mode 2. Okay, here we go. All right, we'll stop right there. Oh, it's like a tic-tac-toe thing without the toe. That's cool. That's really cool. Whenever I see this pattern, I think of Scotty dogs. Does anyone else think of Scotty dogs when they see this pattern? Yeah, that's lovely. Nice choice, Jenny. Nice choice. That's lovely. And our lock stitching is looking great as well. And on this particular material, whether or not you know it, when you change colors between materials, the weight of that material is slightly different, as is the piercing threshold. Certain dyes will actually affect that material. So you'll sew one stitch on a material, it'll sew beautifully. You'll change colors, and then all of a sudden you'll have problems. Thankfully, we're not having problems, but be aware that the dyes they use in the materials can actually interact with your machine and sometimes cause issues. Yeah, very nice. All right, let's do Susie's, and then we'll look at these a little bit closer up. All right, so now we're going to change between modes. We're going to go from mode 1 over to mode 2. We just tap the mode button. We're in mode 2 now. And now we need to pick stitch number 5. I don't remember. I think I have to hit 05. Yeah, there it is. And you can see on the 05 stitch that Susie picked, it's also taking us to the widest setting on 9. So we could mess around with that and make it more narrow. See how I'm adjusting it? We can make it a little bit longer. Actually, it won't let us make it longer. It's saying, nope, you can't do it. But we can make it shorter, probably. Yep. But for right now, I'll leave it alone, and we'll go with the default that Janome set for this stitch that's in mode 2, stitch number 5. We'll see exactly what they had in mind, and then we could always change it if we wanted to. Okay, here we go. Ooh, that's fun. I don't know if you can see that or not. The needle is like going. Woo, woo, woo. All right, stop right there. Oh, that's an interesting one. Wow. It's like those things that we used to have as kids. What do they call those things where you'd put a pencil in and then you could follow a certain grid pattern that they had and you could create these wonderful spiral images? What were those things called? You know what I mean? Cool, really cool looking patterns for sure. So this is what we got. That's interesting. Very, very cool. Like a hula hoop or a rope or something. And we're maintaining real good stitch balance right now as far as tension. Yeah, very nice. It looks like we have enough thread and enough bobbin thread. So I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in. Looks like we've got a good sized audience. If anyone wants to chime in and recommend another one, you could certainly do that. Otherwise, I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick one for fun. Maybe I'll pick one that I can use the mirror image with. That would be nice. We can use that mirror image button. Let me see if I can pick one that would work with well. I think we'll go over to mode 2. Let's see here. Something that would work well with a mirror image. There's several of them, actually. Maybe this one, 59. 59 is a pretty cool looking one. I think we'll do 59 and then we'll sew a mirror image of it next to it. So 59 in mode 2. So we're already in mode 2. I'm going to hit 59. Okay. And then we'll sew that, and then we'll try sewing a mirror image adjacent to it. Maybe I'll do that on the blue so we can switch around with some of the materials a little bit. Do this one that we worked on. I tried to do the Wizard and Susie, and I tried to do the Wizard and Susie, and I didn't leave enough room. So we'll hopefully do better with the mirror image one. All right, so this again is mode 2, stitch 59. And then we'll sew the mirror image of it next to it, hopefully. And I want to apologize. I had the camera facing the wrong way. What I did is as we were sewing that stitch, is I hit this end button right here. This end button right here, so that it wouldn't sew all the way down. Cool. All right, so we've got this, and now I'm going to see if I can do the opposite. I don't know if it'll let me do a mirror image or not, but this is the one that we just sewed right here. This is stitch 59 on mode 2. So I'm going to hit the mirror image button, see if it'll let me do it. I'll try to line up the presser foot right here. I'll try to line up the presser foot right here so we can do a mirror image of the same stitching. And if we can't do a mirror image, then we can't do it, because the machine will limit you sometimes in what you can do. And it's for a reason. Because of the demands of the needle movement for certain stitches, you've got to have a certain width in order to execute it. And they pre-program it like that so that they protect you from doing something that will damage the machine or cause you to have frustration. So we've got that programmed already. And now we're going to try to see if it'll let us do a mirror image. This one right here. It will. Excellent. So it accepted the mirror image of stitch 59. Now we're going to sew the same pattern. And when I get near the end over here, I'll hit the end key, and then we'll have two to look at them side by side. At least that's the plan. Okay, let's see if I have it lined up pretty good. I think I do. Okay, so a mirror image of stitch 59 in mode 2. All right, here we go. I like that. I like that end pattern key. I was able to line it up pretty much spot on. Oh, that's fun. Look at that. Yeah, it is a mirror image. It is a mirror image. Isn't that something? It's really quite a great machine, isn't it? And look at the amount of versatility and creativity and everything else you're getting with a machine for less than $2,000. You know, it's amazing. That's the one we just did. That's the one we just did right there. Yeah, we sewed the first pattern, and then we hit the mirror image button, and it did a mirror image of it. Isn't that neat? That turned out better than my Susie and Wizard and Scott, that's for sure. Wizard and Susie. Yeah, some lovely, lovely stitching by this machine, though. Lovely machine. So some of the stitching we've already done. I'll just show you real quick. Some of the stitching we've already done. We've done the blue one there. Kind of angle the camera so you can see that fairly well. We did a little zippity doo-dah on the red one. The stitches for Jenny and for Susie. This one I actually did off camera. You can actually sew a house, which I thought was really neat. This one I did off camera as well. And then this one we did right at the beginning of the live stream. Whoops. Right at the beginning of the live stream, we did the straight stitch standard zigzag and a 3-point zigzag as well. So we haven't even hit the tip of the iceberg on this machine. There's so much more that this Janome SKYLINE S5 could offer us. And again, someone that owns a machine like this has that intimacy level where they've spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours experimenting. I have that luxury. I've got so many machines right now backed up. I sit down, I get them running perfectly, and then I do some basic tests. I kind of thumb through the owner's manual, which is a great resource. I'm grateful that I had that in hand so that Sandra was able to give me some of those insights into different modes and all that sort of thing. But Sandra will be able to sit down to this machine when it gets back and it's just sewing beautifully, and she'll be able to put all of her knowledge to work with it and really create some incredible masterpieces with this machine. The machine is right now being held back a little bit by me because I'm not as familiar with it as the owner. And that's exactly the way it should be. The owner is always going to have more intimacy and knowledge with that machine than the person that's bringing it back to greatness so that that owner can enjoy it at a greater level. So we kind of work together, don't we? So I'm going to show you the stitches one last time. This is your one last opportunity. And we're going to be wrapping up things in about 5 or 10 minutes. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. Excuse me. Thank you for everybody for joining us, and also for hanging in there at the beginning of the live stream when I discovered that the driver that was connected to the microphone was the wrong one. So right in the middle of the live stream, I went into diagnostic mode and I switched it to the correct driver. And all of a sudden, everyone was like, "We can hear you. We can hear you." So technical difficulties always happen in live streams, and they usually happen to me. So, but thankfully I know what to do, and I was able to overcome it, and the audience was so patient. So, and any of you that are in the audience right now, looks like we have about 1,300 folks that are in the audience. I know it takes a while to get comfortable, but when you feel comfortable, please, please, please step into the live chat. It's always great to meet new people, to share what kind of sewing you're doing, what kind of machines you have. Maybe you have a SKYLINE S5, and some of the things I showed today were helpful to you. Some of the things I showed to you today were not as helpful because I don't know the machine intimately, obviously, like some of you do, and certainly like Sandra does as the owner. But I always try to give you insights to the machines, and that way you can enjoy them more fully. You never want to sit down to a machine and feel drudgery. You want to feel excitement. Am I right? You want to feel excited about sitting down to that machine every time because you know it's going to do what you want it to do. And that's what the workshop magic is all about, is getting that machine to a point where it will do exactly what that owner wants it to do every single time. Certainly you have to have it serviced again at some point. Workshop magic eventually wears off, but in the meantime, you can have so much fun with these amazing machines. And again, I know that a number of the manufacturers follow this channel. I know that Singer does, Northern America Singer does. I know that Bernita does. I know Husqvarna follows this channel as well. If you're with Janome and you're one of the decision makers, know that I would be happy to give a testimony as far as what I see in your product. Some products have really fallen off the deep end and have gotten really, really poor in quality. You've stuck with it, and that's noteworthy. So if you're with Janome and you want to reach out and have me give a testimonial or present a machine, if you want to ship me a machine, one of your new releases, and I'll present it on this channel, I would be happy to do that. You make a great product, and it's worth bragging about. And anyone that owns a Janome, I think you're smart. I think Singer and other manufacturers, Singer, Brother, and some of the others really need to step it up. So at any rate, let me show you the stitches again, and we will wrap up this live stream. We'll have a few minutes to work with, just a few minutes. So I'll show you mode 1 and 2, or if you want me to do something monogram real quick, I can do that. I can't see if that's focused or not. I don't think it is. Come on. Look at the pretty workshop. Look at the pretty workshop. Come on. Focus on the letters, you silly thing. Run as well as the machine is running. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So there's mode 1. Mode 2. And then we've got the monograms, we've got the European, we've got the acrylic, we've got the basic blah, blah, blah stuff. So if there's anything that jumped off the page, I'd love to stitch it as a final sew off. If there isn't, then that's fine too. I think I'll type, maybe since no one picked anything necessarily, I think I'll do one more. This time I'm going to be smart and do it like this, so I've got enough space. I hope I have enough space. All right. So again, for any of you that joined us a little bit late, a lot of preventive maintenance you can do on your own machine if you're a DIY person. The top comes off. The faceplate on this Janome opens up easily. Again, always have it unplugged because you have a lot of electronics in here and you might have static on your hands. You don't want to be touching that with the machine plugged in. You could short out a circuit board, but easy access for that. The bottom comes off of here, so you can take off your plate, service that, service the bottom. There's so many service points on this. This one over here that we're going to be presenting shortly that belongs to Phyllis is not nearly as user-friendly. This is a Janome as well. I think Jenny said she might have one similar to this. This is a MemoryCraft 67P by Janome. MemoryCraft 67P by Janome. But this one was not designed to make it as easy to service it. Maybe they want you to buy a new one, right? But at any rate, it's a lovely machine. And you can see the circuit board right here. You never touch a circuit board with your fingers because of the oil and because of the static. But there's a special cleaning process to clean these very carefully using a chemical to get that extra dust and oil off of there so that that board operates much cooler. The problem with circuit boards is they heat up. And if they're dirty or covered in dust or anything else, they're going to get super hot and they're going to burn out. And that's why if you go to a sewing vac or something like that, a sewing center, they're never, ever going to service those circuit boards. And that's what will cause the demise of your machine. I service the circuit boards on Sandra's, and I'm going to service them on Phyllis's as well, so that these ladies will be able to use this machine forever, as long as they get it maintained by me, periodically. About once a year, I think would probably be enough. So let me program something real quick. I'll stop blah, blah, blahing. And I'm going to type Sandra's name next. I'll try to anyway. So to go into the monogramming, I'm going to go into mode 6. Right over here. Mode 6. And now I'm going to start programming Sandra's name in. Okay. So I got to go with an S first. S is going to be 29. Hit memory. Now I need an A, which is going to be 11. Memory. Now I need an N, which is going to be 24. Memory. Now I need a D, 14. Whoops, what did I do wrong? There we go. My fingers are too fat, apparently. Now I need an R, 28. And now I need an A, which is 11. There we go. So we'll sew this off as the final sew off. As you need to step away, please step away. I want to thank the owner, Sandra, out of the great state of Tennessee. I think Sandra's from Tennessee. I forget if it's Tennessee or Virginia. I believe it's Tennessee. But if it's not, then it's Virginia, because I know it's not. Well, maybe it's Kentucky. Sandra, where are you from, dear? I don't remember. I don't remember where Sandra's from. I've got so many that I'm working with. Anyway, wherever Sandra is from, she knows, I hope. So I'm gonna do Sandra's name now. And actually, I don't need to turn it like that because that's only Sandra's name. We'll turn it like this. All right. Sandra's name. God bless you all. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Hopefully you have your taxes done. The taxes are coming due this week. If you didn't do your taxes, do your taxes, okay? We don't want you to be watching live streams from prison because you didn't do your taxes, right? All right. So here goes Sandra's name, and we are done. That's the A. That's the N. That's the D. And the R. And the A. Yeah, that turned out very nice. All right. Well, we'll see you at the next live stream. I don't know if I'll be ready with another machine by Tuesday, possibly. Otherwise, we'll see you a week from today. God bless everybody. Take care. I'll put out a little bit of parting music. And it will be Japanese music because these are machines from Japan originally.